In the ancient tannery town of Chagford, nestled amidst the wild beauty of Dartmoor, where granite tors pierce the sky and the River Tean murmurs through shadowed valleys, a haunting tale of love and tragedy has lingered since the 17th century. The tale of Mary Whiddon, a young woman whose life ended in blood on her wedding day. Her story, etched into the stones of Chagford Church and the halls of Whiddon Park, cast a long shadow over the moor, one that touched even the pages of R.D. Blackmore's novel Lorna Doone. Centuries later, on a fateful day in 1971, her ghost appeared to a guest at Whiddon Park, a spectral echo of sorrow that bound past and present in the timeless grief of Dartmoor, and Chagford buzzed with the tension of looming conflict. Mary Whiddon, a fair-haired beauty of 20, lived at Whiddon Park, a modest manor on the outskirts of town, surrounded by ancient oaks and rolling pastures. The Whiddons were a respected family, their name tied to the land for generations, and Mary was their cherished only daughter. She had captured the heart of James Hartley, a young merchant from Exeter, whose quiet demeanor and earnest love softened the wildness of her spirit. Their betrothal was a joy to the town, a rare moment of light in darkening times, and their wedding was set for a crisp October morning in the church of St. Michael, Chagford's granite heart. On the day of the wedding, Mary glowed in a simple gown of cream linen, her hair woven with heather and her mother's pearl comb, her laughter echoing through Whiddon Park as she prepared. The church was filled with the scent of beeswax and the murmur of gathered kin, the altar adorned with autumn flowers. James stood waiting, his eyes bright with love. As Mary walked down the aisle on her father's arm, her smile a beacon in the dim light of the stained glass windows. But as the vicar began the vows, a shadow darkened the doorway, one that would snuff out the light of that day forever. William Drayton, a jilted suitor from a lesser branch of a Dartmoor family, had brooded over Mary's rejection for months. A man of pride and temper, he'd sworn she'd be his or no one's, and the news of her wedding ignited a fury he could not contain. As Mary pledged her troth to James, Drayton burst into the church, his face twisted with rage, a pistol trembling in his hand. The congregation froze, their gasps swallowed by the stone walls as he levelled the weapon at the altar. "If I cannot have thee, none shall," he roared, and before anyone could move, the shot rang out, a thunderclap in the sacred space that struck Mary in the chest. She crumpled to the altar steps, her cream gown blooming crimson, her breath fading as James caught her in his arms, his cries drowning the screams of onlookers. Drayton fled into the moor, pursued by justice but never caught, his fate swallowed by Dartmoor's mists. Mary Whiddon was buried in the churchyard of St. Michael, her grave marked by a simple stone that bore her name and the date, October 7th, 1641. James, broken by grief, left Chagford soon after, never to return. And Whiddon Park passed through generations, its halls heavy. The story of Mary's murder inspired R.D. Blackmore, who wove echoes of her tragedy into the doomed romance of Lorna Doone, capturing the raw sorrow of a love stolen by violence. But in Chagford, Mary's spirit did not rest. Her ghost lingered, a wraith bound by the brutality of her end, her presence felt in the church's chill air and the manor's shadowed corridors. Centuries later, in 1971, Whiddon Park had become a guest house, its oak-panelled rooms and rose gardens a retreat for those seeking Dartmoor's wild serenity. On July 10th of that year, a young woman named Sarah Winthrop arrived from London, booked to stay at Whiddon Park while attending a cousin's wedding in Chagford the following day. Sarah, a schoolteacher with a fondness for history, had chosen the guest house for its proximity to St. Michael's Church, where the ceremony would take place, unaware of the manor's tragic past. She settled into a small room on the second floor, its window overlooking the parkland where Mary once walked, and spent the evening reading by lamplight, her mind on the festivities to come. At around midnight, as the house lay cloaked in silence, Sarah was startled by a faint sound like the rustle of fabric in the hall. Thinking it another guest, she opened her door, peering into the dimly lit corridor. What she saw froze her breath. A woman stood at the far end, clad in a black gown that seemed to shimmer faintly, her face pale as moonlight, her eyes hollow with an ancient grief. Her hair was fair, braided with wilted flowers, and though Sarah couldn't discern her features clearly, an overwhelming sense of sorrow washed over her, as if the figure carried centuries of pain in her gaze, and drifted toward the staircase, her gown trailing silently behind her. Sarah, rooted by a mix of fear and fascination, watched as the figure descended out of sight, leaving only a lingering chill in the air. Sarah didn't sleep that night, her mind racing with what she'd seen. The next morning, pale and shaken, she recounted her experience to the guest house's owner, Mrs. Penrose, who listened with a knowing nod. "That'll be Mary Whiddon," she said softly, her tone heavy with the weight of local law. She told Sarah the story Mary's murder on her wedding day in 1641, her restless spirit tied to both the church and Whiddon Park, often seen in black as if mourning the life she never lived. The date, July 10th, held no known significance to Mary's tale. But Mrs. Penrose mused that Sarah's presence, another bride-to-be in spirit, attending a wedding in Chagford, might have stirred Mary's ghost, her sorrow reaching across time to touch someone poised at the threshold of joy she'd been denied. Sarah attended her cousin's wedding later that day, but the ceremony in St. Michael's Church felt shadowed by the weight of Mary's story. Standing near the altar where Mary had fallen, Sarah felt a pang of unease, as if the stones themselves wept for her. She returned to London soon after, carrying the memory of that spectral encounter like a keepsake, sharing it only with close friends, who marveled at the eerie coincidence of her stay at Whiddon Park on the eve of a Chagford wedding. Today, Whiddon Park remains a guest house, its rooms welcoming travellers to Dartmoor's embrace, though some guests report a chill in certain corridors or a glimpse of a woman in black at the edge of sight. The Church of St. Michael still stands in Chagford, its altar bearing the invisible stain of 1641, its graveyard cradling Mary Whiddon's simple stone. Her story endures, woven into the Moor's tapestry, a tragedy that birthed a haunting, a ghost who mourns not just her death, but the love she lost in a single, violent moment. And in Chagford, where weddings still ring with joy, some glance toward the shadows, half expecting to see Mary Whiddon in her black gown, her fair hair caught in a phantom breeze, watching from the margins of time with eyes that will never know peace. Many thanks for treading this tale's dark path. If its chill gripped you, follow, subscribe, and comment below.